computer, please.
Ooh, fancy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast. Today, I'm joined by, if you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, y'all. My name is Ashley Cox, and I own Fangirling Over Jesus.
Fangirling Over Jesus. Sweet. I know we had interacted previously, but I just stumbled across your stuff, scrolling around on Instagram, because apparently what you do and what I do, Instagram thought we should be in each other's bubble. So tell me about what Fangirling Over Jesus is as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Fangirling Over Jesus, it's evolved even just in the past probably 6 or 8 months. It started off with this idea of, I get told a lot by people. I work for a church. I'll start with that. I work for a church, and I also love conventions. My first convention was San Diego Comic-Con in 2013, which is very timely since it's Comic-Con time right now. And I get told a lot. I get told two different things. One is, oh, you don't look like you would be a geek like that, love Star Wars, sci-fi, stuff like that. And I also get asked, how are you how can you be a believer? How can you believe in Jesus and the gospel and also sci-fi? That seems, some people think that's mutually exclusive. So Fangirling Over Jesus became this, initially it was going to be a blog, just figuring out how to relate those things and show people, yes, I love this stuff and this is why. And then it evolved into, I've loved shirt design and I've dabbled in it. And I love creating. I'm by no means the world's greatest graphic artist, but I have some skills. And so I decided, wouldn't it be cool if we had, the shirt of the month idea that features a fandom favorite quote on one side and a verse on the other. So this is our May shirt. It's got, Bucky Barnes and Captain America themed, and it's got Matthew 28:20 on the back. And so it kind of got born into this, yes, we're a blog, but yes, we're also this shop that hopefully can appeal to sci-fi fans, believers, a little bit of both, and kind of bring those two sides of the room together somewhat. So.
And you've also been doing audio devotionals too, right?
Yeah, that was kind of accidental. It was really I think I was probably, I don't remember the exact moment, but I think I was explaining something to somebody about just a favorite moment in a show or a movie. It was probably Star Wars related. Star Wars is my favorite fandom, or Marvel. And we were just talking about the relationship between that and the gospel. And I realized that, well, I love writing because writing is my first inclination. There is something very specific that you don't get in writing. You don't get tone of voice. And to be fair, in podcast format, you don't always get visual. But I realized that sometimes I needed to verbally process these things. And so that's kind of where the mini devotional came from, was what if I could just create this really bite-sized thing that people could take 5 minutes or less to listen to on Sunday, because as we know, people's attention spans are really short, and kind of like a blog, but verbally explain just one fandom thing, and maybe connect it to a Bible verse, or maybe just connect it to Jesus in general, or something like that. And so we've done 4, and I have a growing list of the things that I want to talk about, but within that, because it's so small, but that's kind of how it was, purely accidental, but it's one of my favorite things that I do now. So
I'm doing a similar thing with that, and it wasn't something that I necessarily sat out to do, but Love Thy Nerd had partnered with Back Row Radio. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but Back Row Radio is basically K-Love's cooler older brother.
Oh, cool.
But they try really hard to not play the same thing on repeats and actually have a very good variety of, you'll get rock and hip hop and everything else. And but they wanted to, on older Christian radio stations, they'd have that thing where somebody pops in I'm Louis Palau and here's a moment in the word, or something like that, where someone would pop in and do that. They're we need somebody geeky to do that. So they hit me up. And so I do that for Back Row Radio once a week, and it's
oh, cool.
It has to be a 3 minutes flat. So trying to come up with something every week and then get it in a 3-minute window so it can repeat in between songs. It's just
it's hard.
We just hit 50 of those. And
Oh, that's so cool.
and if I'm super honest, I don't remember like 8 of them, like except like 8 of them. So I don't even know what I've talked about for 50 of those. But it's one of the crazy things is like how many different mediums there are that you can like expand what you're doing into.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I've seen really neat with how you're doing things is because you do have, you know, the blog aspect and you're doing the apparel thing. And that's the thing, some people do apparel, but they don't do it well. Like, and if I'm super honest, like I feel like Faith and Fandom, we do apparel ish, but we don't like actually try. And that's like a back burner if I kind of remember to do it type thing. Like if I'm super like aware, I think we've had the same 5 shirts for 2 years. And one of those shirts we've had for almost 8 years. And without changing it.
I really like the lack of face sister. I like the Darth Vader one. I've seen that one, and the convention badge one. That one was super cool.
That one was cool, and we did that one as honestly like a fundraiser just for getting book 7 done, just because like at one point in time I was a screenwriter for Clever Movies and Screen Junkies.
What?
Yeah,
that's my background too. How have we not talked about this?
I didn't know. That's like I don't like talk about it a lot, but it's just like
that's so cool.
When my first book came out, a producer for over at Screen Junkies, Clever, like because you know they've conglomerated and whoever at this point, but now it's Fandom Entertainment, like so they're a whole different company now. But one of the producers picked up my first book and thought I would be a good geek on staff to have. So I wrote their like fanboy face-off episodes and like 7 things that would be good to do in this movie or that movie, stuff like that, ranking movies. So I did 130 episodes for them. But in doing that, that paid for all of my convention fees and stuff so that Faith and Fandom wasn't like a financial burden. Cause like realistically, it probably costs $8 or $9 grand a year just in con expenses and capital and everything else to do all that. And, but the screenwriting was paying for it. And now that I don't have cons and I'm not doing screenwriting anymore because when one of the companies merged in that whole train, they were like, they wanted all their writers in-house. And it's like, whatever you're paying me is not worth LA. And, but so we did the badge shirt just for that. And that's one of those things I didn't even think about it. One of our friends and supporters was like, you should do this. And I was like, okay, this is a great idea. But your shirts have always been, you know, super creative. I've really enjoyed them. Like, and I've got a lady in my church, and I don't know if she ever bought one, but she really freaked out over the Black Widow shirt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Black Widow is her favorite. And like, so as soon as you posted that, I sent it to her and she freaked out a lot. But
oh, thank you.
That's one of the things is that when you have so many different creative ministry outlets, and I think that you've covered your area a lot. Just so, what would you say is like your end game, like mission statement? If like, cause I don't like, what's your goal for Fangirling Over Jesus?
It has that's a really good question. I'll try to make it short, but I'll give you the story. It kind of actually, you were also asking like, where are you at in your faith journey? And this kind of plays into it. So my background is screenwriting as well. I went to Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill for, originally for journalism. I shifted into communications and I took all the screenwriting classes I could. I loved JAG at the time. It was a Navy show. And I found out that the head writer of JAG was teaching at Chapel Hill. And I was like, sign me up. I'm switching my majors. So my background was screenwriting. I interned in Hollywood after I graduated. I interned with Pillar Segan Shepherd, which was doing Haven at the time, which is why I got to go to Comic-Con that year because they had a panel. So the interns got to help, which is great. And so I came back here because financially it just made more sense. I had a job waiting, and as you know, LA is super expensive.
Yes.
But I would love to go back out to LA. I would love to write. I would love to look at show running. I also am a Southeast actor, so I would love, like, I'm trying to gain more experience here to someday do that. And one of the things I wanted with that was I thought, how cool would it be if people I think of sphere of influence, and I'm like, if I could go to LA and just share, I'm not trying to convert people, but I just want to share, because God is the only one who can change hearts. And I was like, but if I can share, like, what would it look like? Just imagine for a second, what would it look like if Hollywood was being run by people who believed gospel truth? What if more people in Hollywood believe that? What would we see on air? What kind of values would we see? Stuff like that. And I always thought, well, I can't, like, did that work okay? I don't know what happened. Okay.
I don't either, but it looks like we're still good. So, okay.
Okay. But I had this thought of like, what God kind of just, like I said, God convicted me of like, why do you need to be in LA to start doing that? Like, why can't you, like, why do you think I'm bounded by location? And so he showed me the two, I love Jesus, obviously I love the Lord, and I also love Fandom. And he was like, why don't you take your strengths and work within your sphere of influence now? And so all that to say to your question of like, what's your goal, is really just to like show people in these fandoms that have kind of a connection with LA or with Hollywood or with these things that people think might be mutually exclusive. Like, no, they're not. And this is how I see Jesus in the gospel in Captain America. This is how I see it in Star Wars. This is how I see it in Firefly. This is how I see it in Doctor Who. And my goal is just to have conversations with people about that. And if that starts with a blog, amazing. If that starts with my Find God in the Geek devotional about Evermore from Beauty and the Beast, great. If it starts with a t-shirt, great. But like, let's have that conversation. So that's kind of, I don't know how to concisely say that, but really just to have gospel conversations with people.
If you could concisely say it, it's probably too simple.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing, that's like similarly with us and what I'm doing, and was that we wanted to be able, like, I was going to cons and seeing that people just, there wasn't any way for people to really connect at a con spiritually, and I wanted to kind of be that, and I wanted to do it like as a one-time thing, and then it didn't stay one time, and it's just kind of evolved for that. And one of the things that I've seen is like, and one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you is just because I've seen so many other people with the similar heart doing things differently and doing it in different ways. And like, because when I first started doing this kind of stuff, I didn't know that anybody else was doing it. Like, it just felt like, especially like in the North Carolina region, I didn't see anybody else doing anything. And then like, come to find out that like God's kind of like laid it on people's hearts all across the world, the same vision, the same dream, just executed differently. And so like, one thing too, like, I know that with what you're doing, you're doing it on, is anybody else like actually partnering with you? Is it just you?
It's just me. It's a little frightening. It's just me.
And that's one of those things when I'm saying, like, a lot of times when I'm posting or I'm saying things, I use the we, like, we're doing this, like, yep. Because I don't know if adding like the royal we or something makes it feel like you're talking a little bit less about yourself and more about like your organization. And I've had people that have been really faithful, like, that have stood by me for time and years, but like, at the end of the day, one of the things I found is like, nobody else is going to share your calling the way you do. Yep. And like, you can't expect people to push as hard for your calling as they do for their own. So if time and money weren't like, if time and money weren't actual manageable resources, if you didn't have to worry about that, what would you do with this, like, on a full-time scale?
Oh my gosh. I would love to, like, I admire what you're doing, like getting to go to conventions. I know it must be really hard, especially when you look at how long conventions can be, how many days, but like being able to be there in person seems like a really neat opportunity. I would love to do that. I think I feel like I could just do things faster. Like I had this idea earlier, probably right after Star Wars Celebration last year, which is kind of what birthed the exact idea. But I started probably the website in November, December. And so like I started with Wix, and now I'm working on shifting to Shopify because I think it'll be easier for blog and for the shop. But just like financially or time wise, it would be, I could get that done faster, which means I could focus on more shirts and more products and more blogs and do more writing and do more devotional. Like I could just do more, and I could do it a little bit quicker. But because I keep getting ahead of myself, or when I brainstorm with people, like my roommate's been super supportive, and so like we'll talk about t-shirts, or there's a really big project that I'm gonna hopefully get out onto my Etsy shop soon that I'm so excited about, and she's been really helpful. And so I think if I get ahead of myself because I'm like, oh, I want to do this and this and this, and I'm like, okay, remember that you also have like 2 other jobs, and you're a business owner, and you're trying to write, so it's okay. So it would just be nice to get more of it out faster, but it's all in God's timing, right? So yeah.
Well, the next time, you know, the world is actually kind of put back together and there are cons in North Carolina, I'd totally be glad to have you come, like, be at our booth and even set up some of your stuff at our booth. So
oh, thank you.
Because
that's so cool.
Because that's one of the things that I've seen is like there are not enough people actually just being an encouragement spiritually in that culture, and I think you would do a great job with that, and you're doing a great job now. But I think in person you would be great with that. So outside of just like Fangirling Over Jesus, like who are you? Like what's your story? I mean, you've already shared some, but just
who am I? Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm a million different things. I am man, I do so many different things. Swimming is on my mind because I actually just was teaching a swim lesson. So I'm a swimmer and a swim coach. That's been my life I'm 28, so that's been my life for like 26 of those years probably. But I do that. I love people, which is why I really love this. I am a writer. I didn't really realize that I was a good writer until high school, and then I just kind of started kicking with it. So like I love getting to write for this, but my mom and I are my mom has a writing background too, and so we've actually been working on a middle grade sci-fi novel that we're actually trying to create agents for right now. So that's been really cool getting to work with her on that and getting to do that. So I'm a writer, I am an aspiring actor, and like I said, I work for my church, so that's been really cool. I think most of all, if I had to describe myself with 2 words, I'll use this. I would say I'm a dreamer and I'm a creator. I love stupid, crazy dreams because I literally think that if you work towards them long enough and you pray hard enough, I truly think that they can come true. And I'm a creator because I just think like, I've started thinking about that in the context of like God, our creator, and like, if I can do anything like creating designs or t-shirts or whatnot, which is not anywhere near creating the world, but like if I can do anything like that mimics what God has done, like I love the idea of creating things that will bring other people joy and make people smile. So those are probably, if I had to describe myself with 2 words, that would be those 2. But yeah, that's yeah.
So let me ask you, in terms of, because like, what's the timestamp? How long have you been doing Fangirling Over Jesus? You said it's within the last year, right?
Less than a year, yeah. I started getting it together in December. Like I purchased the domain in November, and December, January, I think was kind of when we launched. January was the first shirt of the month, and then just kind of been going from there. So very short time.
Yeah, but those short times feel like a long time with what you're doing. They really can. What would you, just to ask this, what would you feel like has been your biggest disappointment in the process so far?
I think that one thing I've had to get over a little bit is like, part of me wants, like, social media is such a soul sucker sometimes, because you put out whatever content you put out, you're like, why aren't people liking it? Why don't people follow? Like, this is really good stuff, guys. And like you said, at conventions when you're in person, I think it's a lot easier to create those connections. And so that was just like in my head, I have to reframe my brain of like, it's not really about the followers and the likes number. It's like, keep putting out good content and keep putting out the truth, and people will listen eventually. So that's probably been the hardest thing for me.
There's a Christian hip hop group called Social Club, and they used to say for the longest time, it was a phrase they repeated in a lot of their albums was if you're making dope music, there's no way to hide it. Like eventually people will find it. And then on their recent project or one of their solo projects, he said, I used to say that, now you need a song and a dance for it, so dance for them. And it's just like of that thing is like, I thought as long as I work hard enough, people will see my stuff. And he's like, now he was just in a place of discouragement with it. And one of the things that I saw in terms of just presence in social media, because realistically, social media has changed so much over the last 7 years that like when I started this, like when the first book came out, I think by the time it hit, I maybe had 80 followers on the page for it. And I went to a local bookstore. I think you guys have them in your region too, like Second and Charles.
I'm not sure. I have not heard of it.
It's a cross between Hot Topic and a used bookstore.
Okay.
Cool. But I know they're in like Jacksonville and Fayetteville and some different areas. But I went to our local Second and Charles, and the lady literally skimmed through my book, went, how many social media followers you got? And I literally had like 80. And so I was like, about 100. And she's like, come back when you have X amount. And that's like literally, she didn't even read a word on the page or care that I was local or anything. It was, when you've got this many, come back. And one of the things that one of the biggest lessons I've had to learn in terms with that, and is that your fan base will probably not be your friend base. And that more what you're doing is you're creating content and waiting for the people that love your content to find it. Because that was one of the things that, like, you know, I was like slightly discouraged in seasons of like, why aren't you liking this and following this? And like specific friends, or I would go click that little invite your friends button and see all my friends that haven't liked it yet. And I'm like, the crap, guys, why haven't you liked this? And then like, but over the years of doing it, one of the things I've truly seen is that like the people that are going to be ministered to and blessed by what you're doing will find it. But it really is that whole thing where Jesus said a prophet gets no honor in his hometown. Like the people that know you and the people that know you as all the other things that you are probably won't respond to the identity and role that you have with Fangirling Over Jesus. Because like my church is supportive. When they hired me, I was already doing Faith and Fandom. And, you know, I was like, you know, I'm gone sometimes. And, you know, how would you feel about this? They're like, oh, that's what you do is an important ministry. You can be gone like 5 Sundays a year just for that. And I was like, great. But that's the thing, like they support me going to do it, but the people don't care about it. Like that's Pastor Hector doing his nerdy thing. It's just like, just keep walking. Like, and until the kids are doing like a superhero VBS or something, they like that they don't care. But one of the biggest things is I've just like, don't worry about the people, you know, not supporting it. Just as you're building your audience, the people that actually do connect with you are going to be more supportive because they connect organically, and rather than just doing it because they're doing it because it's you. Because one of like the people that I've encountered that have been blessed or ministered to through what I do and what other ministries like what we're doing do, it usually means a lot more to them than just, you know, my random Facebook friends. But it is hard to like put your whole dependence on how many people see and click and this stuff right now. There was a season where I had a job doing social media for a startup app. The same people that got me the Scream Junkies job got me this job. but there was an app that was started that could convert any video into a comic book.
Oh, wow.
So if I literally inputted this video into the app, it would break it down into panels, put all of our words in word bubbles over our heads, and do all this thing. And it was, but
wow,
they gave me a name, an icon, and an app that was like 7 months away from even being remotely ready, and said, get us all these followers. And so I had to generate icon, and like they wanted me to test what the app could do without actually having the app. So I'd have to send them pictures that I wanted to comify or whatever, and then they would run it through the computer process, send it back to me. So if like something hot popped up that I thought I can capitalize off of social media with this, if I can get this out now, I'd email it to them, and like a week later I'd get back the image. I'm like, guys, it's over, you missed it. It's what do you feel like? So you said your biggest disappointment. What do you feel like your biggest success has been?
That's another really good question. I think it's been twofold. It's things that I've seen and things that we've been able to do. So for example, that Black Widow shirt that you were talking about, I work for Mercy Hill Church in Greensboro, and so we were doing a fund. We were raising money for adoption and foster care services in our church for a period. So I really just love that Black Widow quote of, like, I used to have nothing and then I found this family, and that just seemed to really resonate. Yeah. And so we used that. I actually went through Bonfire instead of my printer, which is Printful now. But we used Bonfire to raise money, and so we took the profits that we got from that shirt, and we were able to donate them to that fund, which the whole fund was matched. So just getting to see things like that, like the Rebellious Hope shirt that we have. I got the Rebellious Hope idea from things like Star Wars, like hope is like the sun, if you only believe in it when you can see it, you'll never make it through the night. Or Harrison Dula, we have hope that things will change. So that idea of rebellious hope came from sci-fi. But we used that shirt and the net gators that as a way to send profits to the Moses Cone Fund for COVID. And it was really cool because we donated that money. We'd gotten a few orders and we donated that money a while back, and we actually just got a handwritten card from Moses Cone. I feel like teary-eyed. It was just like, that's super powerful. Like I may only have 40 followers on Instagram, but you know what? Like, we made a difference. Like, we made a difference for Moses, for Moses Cone. We are making a difference in children's lives through that adoption fund. And I think that is that's why I love these fandoms. That's why I love conventions. That's why I love the gospel, is like, I love impact. I really love impact, positive impact. And to be able to see that has been incredible. And to be able to hear how people have responded to some of the devotionals already. Some of them have been my friends, some of them have been different people. That's just been really cool and super humbling, very humbling in like the best way ever. So that's definitely what keeps me going, for sure. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And just one of the things too, like with what you're doing, the fact that this stuff lingers around the internet forever. There's stuff that you might think is dead in the water will be something that'll impact somebody's life out of nowhere. So just, I'm grateful you're putting your content out there and doing that. So would you like, would you have any dream projects you haven't started yet? Like, or anything with this, like what's the future look like for you, just even on the path you're currently on?
With Fangirling Over Jesus?
With life in general too.
With life in general.
like one thing too, just to add this question in there, is like,
sure.
you'd mentioned your acting a few times.
Yeah.
Like what would the actual, like, you say I've achieved my goal, what would that look like? What would you be doing to feel like you're in that place?
Well, before Disney said they were gonna kind of pump the brakes on Star Wars movies, man, I was like a couple years ago, I was seriously considering figuring out how I could go live in the UK and become an extra on one of the Star Wars movies. So like that would have been a dream. I think I think on a grand scale to work with a fandom, whether it's something like a Marvel or a Star Wars, or just whether it's writing, whether it's acting, honestly, whether it's being an extra, like being a part of that story, being part of a franchise like that can inspire so many people. I think it's really powerful. Like I went to Star Wars Celebration and got to see some of those actors there, and that was incredible. And I love the idea. I guess the picture that I have in my head is like, wouldn't it be cool to be a part of something like this and then get to meet fans and just continue to hopefully give them a good role model. And I feel like that sounds really like selfish in a way, but just like, I don't know, just show them like dreams really can come true, and also this is what I believe, and things like that. I guess that would be something that I really aspire to. I would love to get this book that my mom and I are working on published. I think that would be incredible. Orson Scott Card lives here in Greensboro, and so he's one of those writers that we kind of look up to for like, oh, this can be done, or honestly, like people like you. Like I remember I met you at GalaxyCon 2 years ago, I think, and I'd heard about your books from a girl and her mom. I coached the girl, or I helped coach the girl as a swimmer, and her mom was like, "Oh, you would love these. Look at these books. They're called Faith and Fandom." And then I saw your booth at GalaxyCon. I'm like, "Wait, what? This is the guy." So I don't know, just being able to write what I want to write and get it published, and then being able to be part of these franchises that have amazing qualities, amazing fan bases, and get to use that. Just continue to get. I think when good people have a good platform that helps speak truth, I think that's such a cool thing. So, and like you said, honestly, like no matter whether it's small or large, but like I would like to keep growing. But yeah.
and that's the thing, like you never know when growth is coming. You never legit know when, like that's that whole thing with Galatians, if you don't give up, you will reap a harvest in due time. Like when that due time, it's like we never know when the actual due time is, and until it's like, oh, it's here. And that's like last year. And it's so weird that last year was so crazy and that this year is so weird. As far as like last year was just like bananas, and then this year it's like I don't even know what life looks like. But like it definitely wasn't the same as Star Wars, I got to be on Swamp Thing, and like but I legit just did that I did for two reasons. My middle daughter, Swamp Thing's her favorite character, and I just wanted to be on Swamp Thing. But then once I actually got there, I'm like, oh, she can never watch this. And then I was like in the room for 5 minutes, and I'm like, you're never gonna see this. And then but also, like to be able to, just be a part of that. The fact that doing some of the stuff we do, I know we're operating within legal means, but there's always that little bit of nervousness of like, I don't want to make Marvel mad, or I don't want to make like Disney come after me, or like, there's the proper means, and I do all the legal disclaimers and everything, but like, so like it was maybe like September of last year or something. I'm just sitting at my desk, and my daughter brings me the mail, and I have like an envelope that's like officially stamped from DC Comics, and I'm like I'm like I literally like cold sweats, instant panic attack. I'm like, oh no. Like it's like was like, I didn't even open it. The world ended, and I like opened it. It was like my tax stub from Swamp Thing. I'm like, and I'm literally like, DC's about to come after me. Oh no! But that's the thing. Like, if you just getting to be able to touch that, and I like honestly, with your creativity and passion, I don't doubt that that'll happen. Like, so I look forward to the day that I see you in some Star Wars stuff. I had a friend that got to be in Mandalorian.
What? How? How did he do that?
They were just in the right place at the right time, but in the last 2 episodes, when they invade the town, like with the
stormtrooper. Oh, that's so cool.
Because they didn't have enough stormtroopers, so they reached out to the 501st.
Yeah, I do remember hearing about that. That was so cool.
And so, like, literally half the people you see in the last couple episodes are straight up 501st stormtroopers. And so these are folks I've done cons with. And, like, I think the opportunities will, like, present themselves and just with that. But so what would you feel like if you had someone that was interested in pursuing some form of creative ministry, even if it's the geeks or not, or if it's based on fandoms or not, if you had somebody that was interested in like getting involved in a creative outlet like you have, what would be your recommendation? Like, what would be your advice to them?
In a weird way, I feel like this is super counterintuitive. In a weird way, like, I feel like somebody might say, oh, like, you know, figure out what you want to do and plan it and whatnot. And I would almost say, like, go with your gut and do what you want to do, and it'll all, like, work out. Because, like, that's kind of what I did with this. Like, the idea came from Star Wars Celebration, is where it kind of originated. And because literally, like, I was at Star Wars Celebration. I felt this at every convention, but I was at Star Wars Celebration, and it was so easy for me to talk to people, and I'm an introvert. And, like, I can get in lines and strike up a conversation like that. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if the church was like this everywhere? It is in a lot of places.
But in a lot of places, it's not.
But in a lot of places, it's not. And there was, like, it wasn't until I talked to my mentor later on, and she was like, Ashley, like, what you felt was joy. And I was like, that was joy? Okay, I've not felt that in every other place. Like, wait, what? And so that was a really big factor of, like, okay, I want this feeling for other people, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I didn't really do a whole lot of planning. I was like, this is what I want to do, and we're going to figure out how to do it and make it work. And it's evolving. I mean, like I said, like, the devotional, which I absolutely adore right now, but that was such an accident, a happy accident. The project that we'll be launching soon is a little more fandom based than faith based, but it's kind of a hopeful kind of inlet into the rest of my products for people. But that was kind of a random, hey, this would be really funny, I think this could work kind of thing. And so for somebody who wants to pursue something, like, yeah, figure out a little bit of what you want to do and plan for that, but dive in and don't even get your feet wet, just go for it. And it may fail. That's what I keep telling myself. Even if I fail, I'm going to fail magnificently, and I'm going to learn a heck of a lot. And I would much rather get into the weeds and do that and figure out what I love and figure out how to do it better than to take it a very slow baby step at a time. You know what I mean? So that's just me.
And that's awesome. Like, I think one of my biggest problems, like, in doing things like this is that I have vision to create what I already want to happen, but I don't always have the vision to see what's next or what else could be. Like, I'm not a visionary. I've got a friend named Chris that is part of our squad. One of the people we don't pay. And
that's so cool that you have a squad, though.
It's and that's the thing. My squad has, like, been slow developed. Like, when I started this, I was by myself. I was a college pastor. And at that point in time, and one of my students was graduating with an art degree. And I was like, I don't want to go to all these cons alone. Will you come with me and like just make some Jesus-y nerdy art and we can sell it? And like that way we've got another like a touch point of people like can do that. And then, that he became part of our squad and he traveled with me for years, and he's actually about to go plant a church in Nashville. But
Oh, cool.
and then I met another dude. I think actually it wasn't a Galaxy Con, but it was one of the NC Comic Cons that just I met him, and like he basically just inserted himself into my friendship and into this. He's like, I'm here now, and I'm going to help you see all the things you don't see. And that's realistically, he's done a lot of that. But like, our squad's not deep, but it's there. And with me, it really has been a thing of like, you take the one step where you can see, and then that's all you really have to do. When I started doing this, I had the idea of doing one con, one time, and being done. And I went to my first Heroes Con as a vendor. I had book 1, 2 prints, and 2 t-shirts. And that was a year's worth of planning, and to get to that point for me. And I was like, I'm going to sell this and I'm out. And then like literally I was there and someone said, hey, we do chapels at my Comic-Con. Will you come do these? And I'm like,
that's so cool.
I'm like, oh, okay. And then and like doors kept opening. And then I had a friend who's not a believer, who is, I've barely seen him since high school. But he just like straight sent me a text one day. He's like, I think you need to start a podcast. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then like literally that weekend, my art friend and we were sitting at a con, and we have this thing where when we're super bored at a con and like people aren't around, we'll start debating rap albums. And like, we're like, no, like I'll say Outkast, which is better, Speaker Box or The Love Below, go. And we'll just start arguing. And somebody like that was in the booth behind us like, y'all need to record this. This is funny. So it was like, I was like, it's that. And, the radio thing, somebody just pitched at doing that. And, it's the things that you don't see coming. Like, I've sort of mentioned this in some like quiet voices, but I just wrote 2 children's books for this, like actual, like full color, big words on pages. I was talking to my art friend, Vincent, when I was mowing my lawn, and I was like, it'd be cool if we did something like this. And like, I pitched the idea, and like literally before I finished mowing my lawn, he already had pages done. And so like I wrote the script. I wrote 2, because as far as text, usually 2 children's books is a lot less to write than the normal stuff I do. So it's like, I wrote 2 books, and it's literally like a little girl having conversations with her father about like things in the world, and using pop culture and scripture to help her understand things. And so it's going to be like a little series on that. And like one of them is why doesn't God save the world? And it's like a little girl just looking on all the things that are happening right now. Like, why can't I hug grandma? Why can't I go back to school? Like all these things, like, why are people so angry everywhere? And like that, when you see superheroes save the world, the people may not be in danger anymore, but they're usually their circumstances and their surroundings are usually broken. I was like, yeah, Jesus saved us, but we're in a broken place, and we have to do some of the fixing, and he's repairing the big stuff. And it's just like, so if you would have told me a year ago we're going to do that, I'd be like, no, that's dumb. I don't want to do that. But it's one of the things. It's just being open to what's next, because you strike me as extremely creative, and that you would be able to take a idea and not monetize it, but to capitalize in a way of just creativity to take a small idea and turning it into something big. So I have faith in you that you're going to do big stuff with this.
Thank you.
So what would you do? Just, I guess we'll kind of wrap up in here, just asking this, like, what would you consider, like, I asked you, what do you consider for your success in terms of acting? What would you consider Fangirling Over Jesus? Like, it's reached its peak. Like, you have finished the game. You've got the game over credits. Well done. What is the finish line for you for this?
Man, in a way, because you got to do San Diego Comic-Con last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, I just scared my dog, sorry. I think that sounds pretty amazing. I would love, like, I've wanted to go to one of your geek churches, but the whole working at a church on Sunday thing kind of precludes that.
Trust me,
But
I get it.
like, I was even like, man, if I had the money to get a booth or to get inventory, I would love to, like, because GalaxyCon got moved to December this year, right? I was like, that would be so cool to get to have a booth there, but probably not going to happen. Who knows if they'll even keep it in December? But
just on that, I've already got my booth for that. So
oh yeah,
if it happens, holler at me. We'll work something out.
really? Wow. Thank you. Okay, that sounds great. I'm gonna fangirl over that now because oh my gosh, that would be amazing. They do give us a few Sundays off, so I was like, I might be able to work it. Anyway, but yeah, I think that it would be so cool to be able to be a presence at conventions and be able to see people in person and talk to people in person. I think it would be, yeah, I think that whole platform of being able to get to a convention, have a booth, have a panel, I don't know what I would talk about. I don't know, but just, I mean, I can come up with stuff. I can lean on the Lord for all that stuff. That's what I've been doing thus far. But I think that would be amazing. I think being able, if there's a point where I get to go to LA, being able to take it with me in that kind of respect and still have the business even as a writer and or actor, if that happens, I think that would be great. I just want to keep inspiring people and keep encouraging people. And I think that Fandom and Jesus are the two best ways to do that. I mean, like, one of the things I think of is like even just what our conversation a couple nights ago over like Let Me Be Brave, like,
oh yeah,
what a cool mini conversation we got to have. And I've gotten to have some of those with other people too, about, Avengers Endgame, or about Rise of Skywalker, or about Wonder Woman. Oh my gosh, I could tell you so much about women in the Bible and then Wonder Woman. But yeah, I want to keep showing people things that they may not have considered before, especially people who are non-believers, preconceived notions that they may have, and I want to show them why they can maybe look a little bit deeper, and there's something more inspiring and more encouraging to be seen than perhaps what they see already. And I think it's such a cool way to be able to relate that into something like, comics or movies or whatnot that people already know and see, and so they're comfortable with it. So the more I can do that, I consider that a success in and of itself. Yeah.
What's your like favorite Bible verse?
I was thinking you might ask that. My favorite, I'm gonna right, because otherwise I don't want to quote it.
No, you're good. I feel you.
Hold up. Yes, okay, just double checking. 2 Timothy 1:7 is probably my all-time favorite. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power and love, and self-discipline or sound mind. There's different translations.
Which one's your favorite, self-discipline or sound mind?
Self-discipline, I think, actually, because I am really big into the whole just like simple faith, not fear, and I think remembering that in every step is like, as someone who can be a little fearful and anxious and nervous, like I deal with anxiety and I deal with OCD like at a clinical level. So for me, there can be very real anxiety and fear in situations, and that is a very helpful verse for reminding me, like, no, God gave you a spirit of power. God gave you a spirit of love. It's okay to be fearful, but you need to lean on God because he gave you this spirit. He doesn't want you to lean on fear. That, and then actually I had to bring the shirt next to me so I would remember it. The February shirt, I love, it's based off of Rise of Skywalker. It's the Rise shirt. But that one, Ezra 10:4, for arise, for it is your task, and we are with you, be strong and do it. I just love that too, because like, yeah.
Blue really glows on the back of that, by the way. Like,
Thank you.
I was like, I
Yeah.
hadn't seen that. That's really neat.
I was like, I know he's gonna ask this, and these are my two favorites, but I'm gonna make sure I quote this right. But I love it. Kind of plays into that idea of like, you are never alone. You are never alone. It's either you may not be alone physically, there may be people around you, or you're seeing my dog. This is Luna. Um, or you may seem like you're physically alone, but you have the Holy Spirit within you, so you're still not really alone. So those are my two verses. Those are my two verses. Yeah.
All right, so tell people where they can get your stuff, and like how your process, because you've mentioned shirt of the month, but tell us about the other stuff you're doing and where they can get it and all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at fangirling_over_Jesus. You can also find me on Facebook at Fangirling Over Jesus. My website is fangirlingoverjesus.com. It will be shifting soon, hopefully from a Wix site to Shopify, so that's in the works. Super excited about that. I think that's going to make life a whole lot easier for people coming to the site, and frankly for me. And I think it's going to look pretty sweet. Blogs will also be there, stuff like that. The Etsy shop, I need to still edit the name on this, but the Etsy shop is actually still associated with my name, so it's etsy.com/shop/Ashley B. Cox. But you can find it if you go to my Instagram or my Facebook. There's a link tree, so you can find the Etsy shop that way. But yeah, so stuff that's going on with that. So we have blogs that come out. I have not been super consistent over COVID, unfortunately, but every Sunday we have the Find God in the Geek devotional, 5 minutes or less. We'll relate something gospel related to something fandom related. Last week was Beauty and the Beast. 2 weeks ago was Avengers. So it could be Hamilton, it could be Avengers. I want to do, of course, some Star Wars stuff, Star Trek stuff. We'll do, I think one of the next ones in a few weeks will probably be about, I haven't decided on this week's yet, but at some point I want to do one about Thor and Mjolnir and this idea of worthiness. I'm excited about that. As far as the shop, so every month we have a shirt of the month, which is specifically, it's got a fandom quote, a favorite fandom quote, and it's got a Bible verse that corresponds. And then we also have a couple items that are fandom specific and a couple items that are faith specific. So the Rebellious Hope shirt is more kind of faith specific, but there's a Death Star shirt that has one of my favorite quotes from New Hope. It's we're fine here, or we're all fine here now, thank you. Like that kind of quote from Han Solo when they're dressed up as stormtroopers. There's that in there. There's Dance Off Bro from Guardians of the Galaxy. But I'm excited because we finally figured out a way to get a shirt printed. Printful has been kind of limiting their shirt designs coming through just because of COVID. But we finally got our July shirt of the month out, and it is Captain Marvel themed, which I'm super stoked about. It's the quote is what happens when I'm finally set free. And there's a verse on the back from Isaiah. And then there's a new fandom only shirt that reps, the top says she's not alone and the bottom says she's got help, and it's from two very female forward scenes in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. And then I'll let you in on a secret. The new idea that's coming out that we will release soon is kind of funny because I know we can't go to conventions right now, but it's the idea of like, this is my convention bag. And so it's a series of backpacks that are fandom related. Each one is a specific fandom. Right now we've got Firefly, Hamilton, Star Trek, Black Widow and Hawkeye is one, Winter Soldier and Captain America is one, and there's a sixth one that I cannot remember. Why am I not remembering this? Oh my gosh. Oh, Mandalorian. We have a Mandalorian one. We got a couple more that are in the works, but they're just kind of fun plays on quotes from these movies or shows that also kind of relate to conventions. And they also, the really cool feature is you can put a print on the inside front pocket. And so each backpack, the print on the inside pocket is a checklist for conventions. So it has a whole checklist of whatever you could possibly want to bring or need to bring to a convention so that you will never forget anything ever again. So
That's
very
fantastic.
excited about that. Yeah. So just a few things going on.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you want to throw out before we get out of here?
No, I'm just super, like I said, I'm just super grateful that you asked me on. Thank you so much, because I'm a huge fan of yours. So I'm very, very humbled, very, very grateful. So thank you.
I'm grateful you're out there doing what you're doing, because it's super encouraging. So,
Thank you.
because I've enjoyed just watching how you're handling all your stuff and doing it. So I'm grateful for you. So if you are listening or watching this and you haven't checked it out, please head over to her stuff and check that out. And you won't be disappointed. It's super dope.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the Faith and Fandom podcast, and we will see you later.